just since I'm sure we're going to talk about interesting things from the beginning, but I guess since this is your first lesson, I kind of want to ask you a few things about like what are your goals?
hmm
I guess with lessons, I know you want to get you know Georgia PR, but do you think there's any more like specific things within that you kind of want to work on, or like things in the game that you feel
Yeah,
like you've struggled with? Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if we're doing like long-term goal, it's like or like what I really want to like get out of like my improvement, I definitely want to like get Georgia PR like to start. Like I potentially want to push beyond that. But in terms of like where I actually think I need help like working on things, I don't think I'm the most effective solo practicer.
Mhm.
Um, So I do like I'm constantly like practicing and like doing stuff like movement. Um, but I think when it gets into like practicing specific situations, making use of like safe states and like all of the tools that are out there, I don't think I'm the best at it, and I think it could sometimes show in like places where I drop punishes, things like that, or
Yeah,
just in general like across the board. So that was all like one of the main reasons I picked you when I was like thinking of like all the foxes out here teaching lessons was like how active you were in like save state Discord and things like that, and then obviously playing you in person at Bemi
hmm
and like watching you there. But I feel like that is like a huge area of solo practice that like I'm kind of neglecting and I'm having a hard time getting like started with because I'm not the best like at using like Uncle Punch beyond just like the modes that are already in there and like some of the basic stuff, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think this is I've spent God knows how much time learning how to solo practice efficiently and going through all the
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't have that many good people to play with, so I have to solo practice to get good and all that stuff. So we could definitely talk about that. And I think it's such a great skill to learn because the cool thing about like being able to like solo practice efficiently is like you could have like dry spouts of like having practice partners. You could be like, oh man, I haven't had a good practice partner for like 3, 4, 5 months, and still just like improve way faster than the people around you just by virtue of like
Well,
being efficient.
well, it's funny. The thing is, like, I have so much great IRL practice. Like, I just moved in with like two melee players that are a lot better than me.
Mhm.
In Georgia, I'm constantly at Smash Fests. I enter like 2 locals a week. So I'm getting like a lot of IRL practice and I'm definitely still like improving at like a good rate, but I think like at some point like when you're just playing people in person like that much, like yes, you're improving at some things and in certain scenarios, but like I think I need to maybe like not necessarily reel back how much IRL playing I do, but I really need to like add some more like focused solo practice into the mix to like really up the rate of progression.
I agree. I think it's really easy to get kind of stuck in like the oh I go to tournaments like 4 times a week. I'm playing all the
Yeah.
time, and then like end up neglecting solo practice because it's like obviously playing people in real life is a lot of fun. I think it's probably
Yeah.
more fun than solo practicing, but like being able to strike a good balance between the two is so important because there gets like a
Mhm.
point where like you're playing against people so much that you get like diminishing returns. It's like at some point you've maxed out
Exactly.
on like the experience you need to improve. Now you just kind of have to sit down and like fix the small things.
Yeah. And yeah, and then another thing I wanted to sort of like say about what I wanted out of this was like um I have like I have like general game plans for most of the top tiers,
Mm-hmm.
or I would say all of them, but like in terms of game plans that I think are effective and like getting the job done at least for my skill level, I have them for like almost all the top tiers. Like some of the floaties, I don't think my game plans are that good,
Yeah.
and like I'm like losing below my like skill level versus other ones where I think I can sometimes beat people who are better than me because my game plans are good. So I've started out like the first VOD I chose was me against Bag, who's like probably our best Falcon in state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like has this season like been pushing PR and has a lot of PR wins. But it's also one of my stronger matchups. Uh, so I and this is also one of the melee players I just moved in with.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm gonna start out with a VOD of me playing somebody who like in a matchup where I'm comfortable because I feel like it'll be easier to learn like implementation and like apply some of these like principles that I want to get out of these lessons in a
Yeah.
matchup where I'm more comfortable and where I have like accessible practice.
Yep. I
So I
think
wanted
that
to
makes perfect
start
sense.
with yeah. So I was gonna probably start like I know I'm on like the 2 a month thing. For now, I kind of wanted to do like maybe like one matchup per like lesson, like really practice like the things like the solo practice things I want to practice, and then like get try to implement those in game with like certain practice partners.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of like sort of like see where it is from there and go like probably like each lesson a different top tier or like a more pertinent matchup that I'll be dealing with like in the state. But yeah, that's pretty much it for like I guess like introductions of like what I'm looking for and what my like plan is and what I want out of these.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds perfect. You've clearly thought about it, and I think that at the end of the day, that's all that matters. As long as you feel like you have a thing that you personally align with and like want, it's that's all I could ask for. With
Hmm.
the stuff about picking Falcon, a matchup that you feel like you're more comfortable with, I think that's a great way to go about it. Because one thing that like happens a lot with doing lessons and stuff is that like a lot of the time I'm going to be like handing you things that end up being more conceptual or maybe something that you're
Yeah.
going to have to like think about on your own. And I think having like a character that you at least know about, it'll be so much easier to like connect the dots or
Communicate.
yeah, right. It'll be like if I tell you something about how Falcon works and it's like a general concept, you'll be like, "Oh, I understand that. That makes sense." And it'll be way easier to apply outward than if I tell you something about Kirby and you'll be like, "What the fuck does Kirby do?" And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Just think about it." It's like, "No." But I think with that'll be a great starting point. And Falcon also is just like generally a good matchup to introduce a lot of these ideas because I think the a lot of aspects of that matchup end up being pretty clear cut. And that's not to say they're easy
Yeah.
or simple, but I think that the result or the goal is pretty clear compared to like
No.
Falco
Yeah.
when it's like I don't know what's happening on the screen half the time when I'm playing against Falco.
I feel Falco is like the second matchup I was gonna do. It's like my I would say probably my equally comfortable one
Yeah.
because I have so many Falcons I play with. But
I mean,
no, I gave
Georgia
it's a lot
has
more
a
comfort.
million Falcos, but yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a lot of yeah, yeah. You like you got to know it at this point if you want to get past like just like the first wave of players in
Oh
any
my
bracket
god,
here.
yeah.
But
Nowadays the Falco players are just like they can like combo. They like have defensive game. I remember back when I entered
they're
tournaments.
grabbing.
Yeah,
They be grabbing.
I remember back in my day, I'd play against the Falco in like pools, and I would just not even like it would be impossible to lose. And now it's like I play against a Falco, and first stock I maybe mess up a combo who's 0 to death to me. I'm like, what? Am I playing against
It's funny.
fucking Mango?
Yeah. I've traveled to a few other regions that aren't as strong, and like you'll run across a Falco that like literally just doesn't laser, is like getting stuck in shine all the time. But like the Falcos enjoy like the Falcos that are like going 1-2 and 2-2 are like they're not bad Falcos. Like
Yeah.
they're doing like the things right that you need to do, But yeah, yeah. That's exactly that's another reason why I chose Falcon. A lot of my scaffolding for like my game plans in this matchup or like in all of these matchups are like I've just watched like fiction lessons and
Hmm.
like absorbed some of the basic stuff from there that like I could understand at the time when I first was like I really got to start like planning before I just play against the character and vibe out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. Cool.
I'm down to get into the VOD.
Yeah, let me pull it up really quickly. Oh wow, it's like I see. I was like looking at the VOD, I was like, this doesn't have a timestamp, but it's like a highlighted like clip of the match
Yeah,
itself.
so
Okay.
we have like a Georgia Melee VODs channel where they upload all of them to YouTube. This one hasn't been uploaded yet, but like they'll typically highlight out all of them and then like they'll highlight out all of them and then like get uploaded to YouTube at some point.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a very good thing for or for regions to do. I
Yeah.
remember I remember SoCal. Oh man, getting VODs uploaded in SoCal was a task.
Yeah, we've got some people that really do the dirty work in the scene that no the people will give them a hard time, and I'm like, man, like this is like no one's grateful for this work, but it's like the people who are looking at the VODs are like getting so much out of it, you know.
Yeah. It's a great man. That's just such a classic of anything related to like tournament quality control. People just
Hmm.
have no regard. They're like, man. But this is definitely a thankless job, and it's a great thing to do. It's so much easier to improve when it's like, oh, let me just look up my set on YouTube and watch the VOD. Oh,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
I think this is starting with a hand warmer. But
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Um, I guess before we get into the match, do you think you could explain to me what like your thoughts on the general Falcon game plan are?
Yeah. So I know like some of the basic like you want to get like at least a laser or like a stray aerial first before like up smash is unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Um I know like the general game plan for me is like once I have a little bit percent like up smash is unlocked. So I really start trying to mix up like shine, grab, and up smash or
Mm-hmm.
things that lead into those things. Those are the three like things that I'm kind of looking for. That and maybe like up tilt to like catch them
Yeah.
doing things. But for me, it's all about comboing vertically until they're at a percent where you can knock them off stage and just go for like the really easy like back air, rinse and repeat, drop shine if they get below you, like just kind of do that whole sort of like style.
Okay.
That's mainly what I'm thinking of, like attack wise, defensively. It's like especially this Falcon in particular is like he's a really good like down throw tech chaser. Like will go for the regrab any time, almost every time, unless he's like going for a read last stock or something. Um, but defensively, I'm avoiding the grab at all costs. I typically try to dash dance from like a pretty far distance away,
Yeah.
and if I can, like crossing up, even if it's just with like empty dash dancing and movement or going over them,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that makes Falcons more likely to like do bad approaches. Like if you're like just moving all around the stage and aren't even interacting with them, they're like I feel like they're more likely to just like throw out a dumb stomp or knee at you because they're like they need something to happen.
Yeah.
Um and then yeah, like I know that you can shield every single Falcon aerial on reaction to their jump.
Mm-hmm.
Um I'm not the best at like doing that every time, but occasionally I will look and be like waiting for a jump to shield. But that's pretty much my basic game plan. And if you have any questions about like a decision I make at any point, I can probably give you an explanation for why I tried something.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good general game plan. There's a few things that I think it would help to be a bit more specific on. But obviously, it's a general plan, so I'm not going to ask for specifics, and that's also why we're here to get into the nitty gritty. Um,
Yeah.
I guess a few things that I want to cover just before is with the Falcon jumping and you can shield before an arrow comes out. I think that knowing that is really good and it's one of the baseline actions in the matchup. But I kind of want to establish that the way that I see it is I think that it is like the last resort. It's like I was playing neutral looking for something else, and then it also happened that Falcon was jumping. Um,
And you shield.
yeah, and I think that's a good way to look at it because I don't think inherently shielding gives you any like how do I say this? Any like proactive value. I think it provides value obviously because you can shield aerials and play reasonable mix out of them. But I think shielding
Yeah.
doesn't progress the game state in any way. And so that's why I think of it like since you have the option to do other things too, like run under Falcon, outrange his aerials and whiff punish, you know,
Yeah.
pressure him landing.
With punishing is more the game plan or name of the game, I would say.
Yeah.
Um those are just a few things I just wanted to touch on like what I'm thinking about like
Hmm.
when I'm not on the front foot, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that
But
makes sense. Sounds good. Think. Otherwise, I'm good to go. I think since this,
yeah,
obviously I've played you, and you played pretty recently, and I do remember a lot of your style. I'm probably gonna spend like a stock or two just watching without saying anything, just seeing
oh
how I
yeah.
feel about you against Falcon, and while we're watching to try and gather as many thoughts as you can, if you feel like you
Hmm.
see anything important.
Yeah, I rewatched the set last night. One of these things, I don't think it's like an issue with me tech skill wise, but something that I saw as like a thing happening in the set a lot was just me getting stuck in shine.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's not something it's not like a problem. I'm not like constantly every time like, man, I'm getting stuck in shine. But it's something I noticed that was just happening this day.
Yeah,
You know,
makes
sometimes
sense.
you're missing certain tech on certain days, kind of vibe.
Classic melee. Tech skill is
Yeah.
way too fucking hard. Nice. Wow, that was a nearly perfect first stock.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of my better matchups. But
Oh.
you'll see this Falcon Jake. He's really good. You'll see when he starts getting like 6 down throws in a row.
Yeah, he starts doing the Falcon thing and actually killing you off hits, and then it's like, wait, what
Yeah,
the?
because I play him all the time, I'm pretty good at like mixing up tech options. Like I'm doing like no tech. Like I'm not just like doing the same tech options, but like he's just reacting. But
Yeah, I mean, if he's reacting, it doesn't matter what tech option you do, right?
mhm.
At the end of the day. Oh,
Yeah, like there. That's what I mean by getting stuck in shine. That happens a few more times across the set, but
yeah. And getting tech chase feels so bad.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
Oh. Oh. What the heck is happening? Does he kill you here? No way. Oh my god, what is happening?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of cheese. This is another thing. This is one of the people I play the most. So there's already like a bit of a we know what we like kind of meta,
Yeah.
and like there's a couple of games that go last stock and are just real spaghetti, like spaghetti central. Like just it's just like that with a couple of people in the state that I'm playing like multiple times a week in friendlies if I ever run into them in bracket.
Yeah, there's gonna be some freaky stuff happening. Makes sense. Okay, well, I think I've seen enough to
Hmm.
have some thoughts. Before I share my thoughts, do you feel like you saw anything specific that you want to talk about?
Definitely a little up smash happy. It's an easy thing to fall into, especially when you know that like if you hit it, it's so good in the matchup.
Yeah.
But a few ill-advised up smashes for sure. A little too thirsty for it out of shield, especially
Mm-hmm.
when I could just be maybe shining, wave dashing out, just anything else.
Yeah.
Um, that was the main thing I noticed. Uh, and then I was a couple of bad dash attacks that were probably supposed to be cross up nairs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are a few moments where you could see that like I'm doing a short hop like an overshoot short hop nair on their shield to try to sort of like cross up and get on the other side of him.
Yeah.
Um, that's like one of the things I like to do when I'm trying to like cross up a Falcon is like I see them shielding, I'll just like nair, like overshoot nair, and if they like roll back, then like I'm catching them or something like that. But those, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. I definitely agree with those thoughts. I think to make them a bit more focused with the like up smashes and you know you saying especially up smash to the shield. I definitely agree with like the out of shield stuff. I feel like a lot of the out of shield positions you're in, almost regardless of whether you're up smashing or what. I think you weren't doing that great of a job of being attentive to like the exact spacing because you know there's sometimes Falcon there's your shield and he's so far away that you can't shine right or you can't do anything,
Hmm.
and there's sometimes where he's so close that you just get to even shield grab him. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that like you know being able to like recognize those differences in the moment matters a lot because it's not like Falcon King your shield is like a super bad position for you, but I think it's a position that could lead to your death very quickly. Like for
yeah,
example, if you know you shine on your shield on a space nair and Falcon just jab, you get gentleman, he tech chases you, you're stuck in the loop, right? And that like could just mean your death immediately off of like you know slightly misjudging something, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think, and you know, same thing with up smash. Falcon sees you up smash right in front of him, he'll just punish you with any move in the world. Uh, and so that's something that I think we should definitely focus on is like paying attention to the out of shield game and the mix ups that you know are associated with that. Um,
yeah. Sometimes I find myself also a couple instances doing like panic spot dodges.
mm,
Like I'll sometimes be something that he will specifically punish me for sometimes that I've been trying to beat out of my game is like occasionally I will like panic spot dodge shine, and
yeah,
a lot of times he will like dash in at me when I'm shielding and like dash back, and I'll spot dodge like hoping that he was trying to grab me, and then I'll shine like trying to like spot dodge his grab and then shine him and get something after that.
yeah,
And he'll like dash at me to like bait that spot dodge shine, and then he'll just nair me while I'm in shine
mm-hmm,
or something
mm-hmm.
like they're like so like I do think out of shield is definitely something against Falcon that I'm really afraid of. Like there are other characters where I'm super comfortable like wave dashing. Like I'm really comfortable wave dashing in against Falco, when they're like doing the laser or aerial game. But like against Falcon, when like if I like wave dash in and get need like once, like that's just like it's so hard for me to like commit to that. But like,
Yeah.
is there like is wave dashing like forward and back and mixing that up? Are those the kinds of like options that you're looking for when I can't shine or up smash out of shield?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that you know, I think because Falcon getting hit by him by like a single move feels way worse than like Falco. It's like scary. It feels scary, but when
Mm-hmm.
you like look at it, I think Falco is way riskier to like do actions out of shield against just because like you know, there are more ways for it to go wrong. Whether it's like, oh, you get lasered and you end up at like the wrong spacing and you get shined afterward, or Falco's doing a downer that will just hit your wave dash forward regardless, or like, you know, any combination of things like that. But I think against Falcon, it's like if you're wave dashing forward after he like hits your shield with an aerial, it's like, first of all, the only things he can really do to stop you is like doing aerial grab, which is inherently risky, right? Because what if you
Yeah.
spot dodge? What if you shine on a shield? What if you wave dash back? What if you jump? All those things just avoid aerial grab. And then
Mm-hmm.
um if like you if he does like aerial jab, you're wave dashing. You just get to hold down shine him, right? He just gets punished for jabbing. Or you know, the only like things that end up going well for him are doing like aerial F tilt, which again is risky because if you just hold shield, which you're incentivized to do because he can't really
Mm-hmm.
grab safely, then it's like he just gets punished out of shield. And if he does, you know, aerial dash, that's not really that scary either because if you think about it, it's not like Falcon Sheik or Marth or Fox or Falco who have like a ground move that like you know hits well. Falcon doesn't have any of that. He has to jump if he wants to do anything, and so he's going to be
Yeah.
dashing. You're wave dashing forward, and guess what? You have good ground options that are fast and can hit people when you're close, and he has to do something that takes time to set up. And so
Yeah.
like, does all that together make it like not, just consciously make it seem like it's safer to, potentially wave dash forward against Falcon, or that like wave dashing in general isn't as much of a risk because he doesn't actually really have the tools to deal with it that well directly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
it's so important because you get stuck in shield really easily if you don't like, you know, get out in those types of ways against Falcon.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the spot dodges are something that like I've just been like, oh, I spot dodge there and I die. But like it's hard. It's hard, especially when it's a Falcon that wants to grab you and will tech chase effectively, to not just kind of be afraid of that grab. Um, and that's why sometimes I think like the bad options out of shield or like not being comfortable in shield is because like what if whatever he's doing is in the grab. But I
Yeah,
guess aerial grab is so risky that it's probably not something I should be applying that amount of like mental attention to.
yeah. I think it's one of those things where you can like, obviously you should know how to beat it and deal with it, but it's not like a baseline option. It's like if a Falco lasers you, you're looking for like the step one initially. Like you're not looking for like, level seven, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the same for Falcon shield pressure stuff, where it's like there's things that you definitely should be looking for every single time, but I don't think grab's one of those things. I think you look for grab after they've already done it once, because that means they
Yeah.
had to do something risky, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I think this approach is going to be like applied way more often. The more we talk, where it's like judging risk reward and using risk reward to guide what decisions we want to be worried about and how we're going to structure like the way we play the situations is super important.
Hmm.
Because in a game like Melee, there's a million things you could do at any given point, but there's not a
Yeah.
million reasonably safe things you could do at any given point, right? And so
Yeah.
bringing those down to the ones that are good and then deciding what they do and then working that through and then having things that we can do that are riskier but have good reward, et cetera, and deciding when they're going to do it and all that stuff. And that's like super duper crucial to like playing Melee well.
Yeah.
I think it's daunting and it's definitely hard, but I think
Mm.
just hitting the basics and like understanding that that is a concept that we like want to worry about is
Yeah.
honestly half the battle.
Hmm.
um Other thoughts I had from watching is I think that it felt like, and you can confirm or deny this, when Falcon is just dash dancing, it felt like you're pretty uncomfortable. But I think that, or I guess you could confirm. Do you think that when Falcon is just like, say for example, we could look at the first interaction, right? Like Falcon is actually just kind of dash dancing, and nothing like super meaningful has happened. In spots like those, do you feel like you're uncomfortable by like the neutral being played?
Um, I feel like specifically at the beginning of games, I'm a little bit more cagey.
Mm,
Like if you look at I feel like later on in games, like when I'm coming off of an angel platform, like yes, I have invincibility, but I feel like I will go into more traditional neutral. But
yeah.
like when I'm starting off a set against someone with who's punish I really respect, like the idea of like 13 seconds into a stock getting like stomp need after a tech chase and dying and like having to like have that be like the mental beginning to my set will lead to me being a bit more like I'm gonna chill on top plat and side plat for a bit, you know?
Mm,
And
yeah.
then I'm like standing there watching him. He's not really gonna hit me like where it was spaced. And I get that one laser. And so even though he like grabbed me here, I'm like, okay, like if he doesn't kill me, like off this grab, I'm in a great spot. I can get my first opening and then like everything that I want against Falcon is like unlocked.
Hmm.
Um but in general, I would say I do maybe like get a little jump happy and get a little bit I'm a little too quick to go to platforms rather than stay grounded against a dash dancing Falcon, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That makes sense. I think that one thing that I want to bring up initially is I definitely understand the feeling of like I don't want to just throw my stock away immediately after just getting like being at 0% and things are going great. But I think that it's important to like be specific about how those things will end up happening and let that guide how you want to play the situation. Because, for example, at the beginning of this match, I'm like, you're on the top platform, on the side platform, on the ground, or whatever. I see this and I'm like, there's nearly nothing that could go wrong at any of these points that like should make you feel like the result will be, you getting comboed to death, right? And I think that being able to tell, what the game state will end up leading to is really, really important. Because there will be some times where you look at it and you're like, oh, like I don't know if you've had this experience. There's sometimes I watch Melee and I'm just like watching, two players play randomly, and I like see a situation come up and I like get tense because it's like I can tell that's a situation or positioning where like death is very near, right? But like this situation, I'm chilling. There's nothing Falcon can do that will really do anything to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Especially
if you look at
CC, I think also like all I really have to look out for there is like because I can CC everything, like at that percent too. Like I think getting a bit more comfortable going to ground like is good because like if he like nares me, I can like CC shine that or like
you could CC
like
shine
all that I
it.
really have to be worried about is like a raw grab, which is like so much more risk than this Falcon is likely going to incur at the beginning of a game.
Exactly. It's like if you come down to the ground and you're chilling, guess what Falcon can do about it? He could grab you and he could mash his arrows in place, and it doesn't matter because you could either be CCing, you could be outspacing them, and you could be shielding them. And there's nothing he could do when he does aerials to stop you from doing any of those things. Now, he could do short hop empty land, right? And then you'll have to play a mix up that ensues. But it's also like if someone has to play a mix up to get the opportunity to play a mix up against you, I feel like that is probably a pretty good position for you, right?
Yeah.
And so
in general, do you think like just like starting off like this, maybe just be a bit more grounded?
Yeah, I think just being on the ground is fine. And then I think once you get to this point where you are on the ground, there's no reason to full hop here, right? Because Falcon's all the way back here. Him doing dash up grab is completely reactable because it's, threat ranges, and just to define a threat range really quickly is like threat range is essentially the edge of a character's unreactable range. And so him doing dash up grab to the point where it's unreactable would probably end up being around here. But any further, you could probably at least spot dodge it. And the further away you get, the more things you could do. And so when you're back here, I'm not worried about grab. I'm not worried about him jumping because we've talked about being able to outspace it, shield it, CC it, right? And if he dashes forward, I'm still not worried because we want to wait. Like, you're not threatened by him even dashing forward until he gets to the point where him doing grab is unreactable, which would be like, from where you're here would be like right here, right? And so it's like, oh, you are actually chilling. And another thing is that, like, since we know how we talked about how Falcon doesn't really have that good ground moves like Sheik or Marth or Fox that like happen quickly, you just dashing forward here kind of haphazardly isn't actually risky. Because again, you have good defense against jump that's reactionary. It's not preemptive at all, which is a big difference, right? If you could just react to something and have good defense, it's not a big deal, right? Because you can just react. And so, like, since his jumps aren't that big of a deal, you dashing forward kind of haphazardly doesn't matter that much because he'd have to do something really committal to stop it, right?
So, like, yeah, sometimes I'll be doing these, like, prayer drills. That's kind of what, like, the box that I put them in when I'm watching in my head. Like, I know better than to, like, do, like, an air here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I can do the mental gymnastics of, like, well, if I get a drill shine or a grab, it's like I'm able to kind of sort of, like, cut the corner mentally to, like, justify me being overly aggressive.
Yeah.
But, so you think more, like, in these situations where, like, it is a neutral situation where I find myself in a lot against Falcon, where, like, he's dash dancing under one side plat, I'm dash dancing under another. Should I just be, like, moving in and out of center stage just to sort of, like, not be dash dancing in one place and make it harder for him to sort of, like, guess where I'm going to be?
I think that generally the rule that I'd kind of apply to, what my goal would be against the Falcon, how to progress neutral is, I think, if you're both just under side plats, you moving in a center stage and kind of, trying to establish yourself in that position is a lot safer than Falcon trying to do it. For all the things that we've talked about prior. And so I think
like
that
Falcon does it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
If Falcon does it,
this,
he could get you could just run up grab, you could just running shine, you could full hop right here above him, you could do all these things that he has to like worry about. But if you run forward, the only thing Falcon can really do to actually threaten you is run up grab. But you have a multitude of different things that are all differently timed, that he has to react to differently. Some of them aren't reactable, etc., right? And so it's like there's so many more things that he has to worry about. And if he does get hit, guess what? He gets drill, shine, up throw, up air on side plat. He could just die instantly. But like, you get grabbed here, he has to tech chase, he drops a tech chase, you go back to neutral, 8%. Sure.
And then, would you say, is there like a percent bracket where what I worry about should be a bit different? Or is this something that like pretty much, unless I'm at like kill percent and anything will kill me, like I'm at like 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't necessarily die. Like, should that change my philosophy on like how I'm treating the ground game, except for like maybe being a bit more vigilant for aerials?
Mostly not. I think it's pretty much the same thing, except one difference that I'd probably put in there is just like, I mean, it's just pretty much what you said. Just be a bit more vigilant about avoiding aerials, and like, instead of being down to be like, oh, I saw the Falcon whiff in there, I'm gonna run in and try and pressure him.
Yeah.
More often I'd be like, oh, I just saw him whiff in there, I'm just gonna stand here and let him whiff something else after, because that ends up being better score.
Sometimes there are situations where I'm definitely trying to whiff punish and I get a gentleman to the face.
Yeah, and I think that's totally avoidable. You don't have to.
But at low percent, I shouldn't even be worried about that because of CC.
Yeah, at super low percent, before like forward tilt starts knocking down, it doesn't really matter because you could just run up CC. If he jabs, maybe you get a shine. If he's too spaced for it, guess what? You go back to neutral anyways, but you're like close enough to pressure him still, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's not too big of a deal if you're pre forward tilt knockdown percent. But the general thing that I kind of want to like, or not the general, the larger takeaway that I kind of want from this, more so than just like, being on the ground against Falcon's good because he has a lot of trouble hitting you. It's that like, when we think about, the game state and what we want, it's important to like use context within the game, the character's options, the character spacing, what point the characters are at in their actions when we make decisions. All those things, you want to use that to guide the way that we view these situations. Because I know earlier you're like, beginning of the game, I don't want to get stomped or, get stomped, need, tech chased, any of that. But it's like, that only happens in a certain set of situations, right?
Yeah, like I'm only really like that's only happening if he just goes for like the ballsiest option and it works.
Yeah,
in which case, like even if I'm reviewing this set later and he like just runs up across the stage and grabs me to start and kills me, like I could still look at that interaction and be like, okay, this dude's got to do it. This dude's gonna do this. I need to be wary of that. But like he still like played an option where like I had 5 options to beat it.
Yeah, and that's, you want people to do that. You want them to have to play
overextend.
Yeah, you want them to have to like take bad odds to hit you. You never want someone to hit you with good odds, right? If you have control over it, there's no reason not to make it hard for them. And I think being able to view the game in the way where it's like, these are the things that can happen, and these are the only things I need to think about, and then as the situation changes, you see it in different ways. I think that ends up being the best way, because you can just do the most accurate decision that you're capable of at any given point, which is kind of, that's the best case scenario always.
Yeah.
I think, and, getting back into the match, I think it's going to be important. A lot of the times I'm going to stop, it's going to be in the spot where I'm like, okay, well, you did this thing, and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work that well, but I kind of want to talk about the information surrounding the situation. I think that's what's going to end up being the most important. Because I'm after watching essentially all the first match, it's not like I think the way that you're playing against Falcon is good. Like the fundamental like baseline for your Fox versus Falcon gameplay makes sense for Falcon's character. I think you're doing a lot of things that are like accurate and they're like they make sense, but we need to get the specifics in tune. There's a lot of spots where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like the shield spot. Oh, you're up smash him when he's not spaced, or
Why
you're
not
missing
up
shines
smash
of the
that?
shield, right? Or it's like,
Why am I chilling on top plat here?
yeah, or it's like, oh, you're on the ground, but you're doing a full hop from full screen when there's nothing that was actually threatening you. And it's like, all these little things that are going wrong, those are the parts that we're going to fix, and that's going to be, like, where most of the improvement comes. Because you already know, like, the moves Falcon does, and how to not get hit by them, and what are, like, small micro things that you want to be aware of, but we have to, fix macro.
Yeah. I don't know if you peeped the end of this game. I think you watched the first 3 stocks. I literally fucking throw. Like, I literally he up airs he up Bs and lands right in front of me, and like I literally can just up smash him at like 90, and I don't because my hands just like freeze. Like that's the time. So like there's some things like that, like, but like
I mean, nerves are
I don't
nerves.
think necessarily discussing like last stock nerves and how to handle that is like primary at this point.
Yeah.
But maybe at some point.
Yeah, I think if you need it,
like
it's totally fine.
Yeah. But I'm more at the point where like I feel like I should only be worrying about that if like I'm playing someone that's at a level where like I need to be checking all the boxes to beat them because their game plans are like so sound, or like especially if I'm playing a character where it's like a matchup's a bit more dicey. Like I truly like. I mean, I'm not trying to talk about like matchup percentages, but like I think Fox's toolkit against Falcon is like you can put together a game plan that'll really invalidate Falcon. But like, yeah, just something I don't know, just something I wanted to mention just as you watch the set because there are a couple of bad throws, but and then also I did want to talk about like we're talking about like general like ideas, and these are all things that are really great for me to think about when I'm playing Falcon or specifically this Falcon.
Yeah.
But I also definitely want to get into like instances of like where you see something that like I can like create a save state for, there is a save state for, or like I can really solo practice because that's also something like I mentioned I really want.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely do that too. I felt like the few things we covered were like structural enough to where it's like, that'll probably benefit you for the rest of your melee career, and so it's important just to like drop it. But as we like actually start watching, rather than being 5 seconds in, we'll get situations where it's like, oh, you need to practice this thing, or like there's a new way to look at it that you can practice. Oh yeah, like man, both those. I think the second up smash was good. The first up smash didn't really make any sense because I see this, Falcon. I'm holding down. I tried to shine. Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna shine. There's no reason not to shine, right? But then you up smash, he shields it. He could have waved that grab. CC grab would have worked too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either
yeah,
one.
That's the thing. I'm a big grabber in this matchup. Like I'm kind of a little up smash happy in this set, but recently in the past couple of weeks, like just grab is just like everything. I love grab against Falcon. You can up tilt into re-grab and then up smash. Like I've been thinking a lot about how like especially on triplats where like you don't even really need to like do the complicated aerial, like you don't even need to do the complicated like flat tech chase that you do against Spaceys. Like you could literally just react and up air, and Falcon's so bad like you can get another up air or get them off stage.
Yeah, like, definitely.
But yeah, we can keep watching. Just want to know.
Yeah. Now this up smash was good. What makes it good and different from the other ones is that like when you roll, you're behind Falcon, and Falcon doesn't really have, again, good ground moves to just like stop you. He's not going to grab because he's super disadvantaged frame wise, and so it's like, oh, he's going to jump and try and set up a situation, and of course he haphazardly jumps into you. He gets up smashed out of the air. He's on platform, and then you get a great zero to death, right? And that's what makes that up smash different from the first one you did, and actually makes it good because it interacts with Falcon's moveset well and is like logical in the things that we would do at any given point. I think the shield is really good. Once he comes down, he like jumps in center stage, and you're around here, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna shield. I'll be safe. But I wish that instead of jumping a side plat, one thing that you're gonna have to get used to against Falcon compared to other characters is that like going to side plot against Falcon should be the absolute last resort. Because guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna up air you, and you're gonna be able to do nothing about it.
Yep.
Right? Being above Falcon is one of the worst positions for you, and so it's just like you can just like shield and wave dash down. And again, the only way he's gonna hit you is by run up grabbing. You know?
Yeah, I'm still at 32.
Yeah, you're safe as hell. Oh, and then you had bad ledge tech skill, so you get hit and die. That's unfortunate. Yeah, you get stuck in the shine here. Yeah. This sounds random, and it sounds weird, but I think that you should practice doing practice tech in place shining. Practice teching in place and shining on frame one of like your
Frame
wake
one.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're like late, for example, and Falcon like reacts a frame or two late, but say you're 3 frames late on shining out of the tech in place animation, you're gonna get grabbed, right? And so I think that it's like it's a legitimate skill.
No, yeah, it's definitely especially because like he's hitting these like I'm sure there are some of these where he's 2 frames late when I'm teching in place.
Yeah.
And I could have gotten a shine. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
I know there. I think there's a thing in. There's already an Uncle Punch drill for this where you're doing that against Sheik.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I don't even think I need a save state. I think there's one of the things under the Spacey section is wake up shine.
Nice, that's good.
That's unfortunate.
Happens. Nice. This was really good. When Falcon comes down with invincibility, it's exactly what I talked about with the first stock put into practice, where it's like you're in the corner, Falcon's kind of on the other side of the stage, you're running forward there, it is super safe. It is so absurdly safe. Because guess what? Falcon jumps towards you, guess what? You run under him. Falcon jumps in place, guess what? You're going to be shielding anyways. Falcon does a jump in the middle, you're going to be shielding anyways. Falcon stays on the ground and dash dances. You get to react and be like, oh, he didn't jump forward. I guess I'm going to running shine or wave dash down or play a mix-up or something. And so, like, seeing it in practice doesn't, like, at least feel more like, or it makes more sense that just, like, you can run forward in so many of these positions and you're actually just safe.
Yeah, I know. And it's kind of what I was meant to by, like, as I'm in the groove of the game, I'm putting that into practice a bit more naturally, but it's kind of something that to start the game, I'm more antsy about. Like, I should technically be more afraid here than I am at the start of the game because he's coming down with invincibility.
Yeah.
But I feel really comfortable, like, in this spot.
Yeah.
It's just like I hate like when I start off a set with like an early death or like it can really.
It feels snowball. Bad. It's definitely hard to play a set where you lose the first stock in 10 seconds and it's like, what the set can't even start well? What? Here's another spot where I feel like that full hop probably wasn't the most well advised, just because like there's just there's no reason to like be in the air in this spot. Falcon's far away. You could just wave dash back. He really won't be able to hit you because you're so far away.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely like if you watch earlier VODs of me, I am just like a huge full hop happy fox that has like ever since like which was like there are worse ways to start out, with like that being how you are, but it's all been about like reeling it back and like not doing it in places that like I feel naturally inclined to.
Yeah.
So I feel like definitely like I'm not doing as many bad full hops, but they're definitely still in there, and that's something I need to like choose replacements for. Which I think this is good because like sometimes I'm like, well, what do I do there? And like you're giving me good options of like just dash dance there, just do this there, which is they're the things that I've kind of needed to plug those holes.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad it's helpful. Oh, I feel like you had him. You like didn't commit to the running shine, and then I think at some point,
yeah, there are a couple of moments. It's funny. It's like why I whiff at the end and kind of throw this game where I'm like, the option's right there. I just gotta like do it, but I don't. Just a couple. I mean, it's probably just like a bit of a knowledge thing, a confidence thing.
Yeah, I think it might be like if you're putting yourself in the position and watching it back, you know that that's a thing that you want to do in that type of spot. I think that just means it's a matter of like, um, it's a matter of like the way you think about the situation. Because for example,
Mm.
if you see the same exact situation 100 times in a row, and you don't pick, assuming it's a situation where there's a single solution, the one solution every single time, then that means that you're probably thinking about it wrong. Just because that like the way the situation functions fundamentally should guide the way that the decisions you make. And so if there's like a thing that works every single time and there aren't really any other alternatives that function reasonably, there's no reason not to pick the one that works compared to the one that doesn't work. And so for example, in this example, it's like why you probably ran forward and even got him to dash back but didn't decide to running shine is that like you were thinking about other things being a part of the situation when in reality they weren't actually like it wasn't actually relevant information.
Yeah.
And I think I can't say anything specifically about that, just because I don't know, and
I will
it's
say
hard to
I'm
tell.
not a huge running shiner,
Mm-hmm.
just in general.
I think it's pretty
Um,
good.
in this matchup for sure, I'm, there are other matchups where I'll be fiending for shine a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But and I know that like you get a shine against Falcon, and it's like, well, you want an up smash, you want to grab, you shine, and you get there. But I sometimes will just like, uh, I'll sometimes just skip the shining and just be like, let me try to find that and grab that up smash without it. So
Yeah.
maybe looking for running shine or situations where I can get a free shine into what I want,
Mm-hmm.
it would be better, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think straying away from running shining definitely makes sense. Playing this matchup compared to other ones where it's like Falcon's faster than you, so if you're chasing him in any capacity, you'll never catch up to him. Whereas with
Yeah,
Marth or Sheik or Falco or
Falco.
any character, for example, if you catch like if you're dashing towards them and they dash back at the same time, you'll end up catching them, which incentivizes you to running shine more often because it'll actually hit.
Yeah,
Whereas that isn't the case with Falcon. But I think that like again, this is another problem with being specific, where there are just spots where Falcon doesn't even have the time to get out of the way, and so running shine works, right?
hmm
And I think that using the example, I actually it might have been too far back. Using this example is it's like if you look at oh man, I just completely missed it. I wish I had it because it was actually perfect. Is it not right after this? I guess it wasn't. But essentially in that position where Falcon, you
hmm
read him dashing back and then didn't commit. It was actually right here. Yeah, it's like Falcon wasn't moving at the point that you started dashing forward from right here and he was standing right here. And then that was like enough time for you to like actually be close enough to him to hit him here. Right.
Yeah,
And like understanding that like concretely, where it's like, what's the point where Falcon has to be relative to me for me to be able to
yeah,
like dash forward and hit him before he can move out of the way is like that's important and that'll guide you when you want to running shine. Because I definitely agree that like, I probably don't running shine as much against Falcon as I do other characters. But then, matter of being specific, it's not that I don't running shine generally, it's that the times I do it are just different. And I think that's kind of the way that we want to approach even more things that come along where it's like, oh, yeah, I just like, there's this option I want to do against this character that I think is good. And then instead of thinking of it in terms of like just like the option itself, it's like, oh, running shine. I think it's better to structure it as like I'm beating this option and this is a thing that does this against this character.
yeah,
Right. Because it's really easy to be like, oh, man, fade back drill. I fade back drill against Fox and Sheik and I think it's good, but it's like, well, wait, it's not about the drill. The fade back drill doesn't matter. It's about beating the fact that you're reading them running forward, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Where it's like we want to look when we like think about these options, we want to like look at them for what they are at their core, not really what you're doing to beat them. Because I don't care if you up smash or if you running shine or if you down tilt. If you're reading the option and it's a thing that actually works against it, I won't have any problems with it, right? I'd be like, oh,
yeah,
makes total sense.
mm, yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, I was just late on the up air.
I think once you hit this bear, the way you play the position isn't that great. This is like a really good bear to get, but I think you tried to maybe, I don't know if you forked it intentionally, but I think
No,
in that
it's
position,
probably a missed dash tag. Probably missed the dash, but the dash
yeah,
tag's probably not that good there because he could crouch. But I
yeah,
feel like in that scenario, a Falcon's not just gonna sit there and crouch in the corner.
I agree. I feel like I hit that bear against Falcon. I'm like, I'm probably gonna bear again. Maybe I'll dash towards center stage. I'm just gonna
Turn.
like
What about up tilt?
up tilt also works. He doesn't really have that much room to dash dance, so it's hard for him to actually like time his action to hit up tilt. I think all those options are great. And that's nice. Oh, you're too close to full hop. Yeah, this happens. If you're too close, before your bear, since you know how Fox bear, like he does like the splits or whatever.
Yes.
If you're like too close, Falcon's nair will just go in between your legs. And that's what happens here. Oh, nice. Shield grabbing knee. Really good. Oh, this is something that you should practice. When Falcon, this could be tournament because it looked like you messed up. But like,
yeah, it is tournament.
with Falcon, like, misteching, I think it's really easy to be like, oh, I'm reading tech rules, I'm a reaction tech chase, and then see that he mistags, and then struggle to tech chase everything perfectly. And I think it's worth legitimate time just practicing, having him DI in various ways on the side plat, and just covering on reaction the various mistech options. Because it's hard, and it's different. It's a thing that you have to, like, explicitly practice.
Okay, so like rather than like okay, so set up like a Falcon misteching with different DIs and then rolling or getting up in different directions and
Yeah.
punishing that with an up air.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I think I kind of felt this way looking at the last two situations where he was in the corner and you were in center, and then this one where it's the same thing. He's on legend in the center. It's like I think turning her back is really good, and Falcon has a really hard time beating Bear, just because Bear's spaced and it out prioritizes Nair a lot of the time. Hits Falcon before his aerials even come out a lot of the time, and overall utility wise, I think it ends up being a lot better than like Nairing, for example. And so like facing Falcon here in these spots makes playing the position out way more awkward because it feels like instead of being like, oh, I get to stand in place and like hold my spot, since you have to use Nair, a move that doesn't really hit that far forward, you have to move into him with it. And so you're in this spot where it's like, oh, I'm in the corner now because I crossed up because I needed to move forward to Nair.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm pretty bad about keeping my back to Falcon when he's on ledge is just like it goes against the thing in my brain of like what I want against Falcon, which is a grabber and up smash.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I would want to be facing Falcon for that, but that makes a lot of sense. That like I need to have be a bit more flexible.
Yeah,
just
like
recognizing he's on ledge there.
It's like, you want to hit grabber up smash, but going back to what we were talking about before, where it's like there's positions where it's better, right? There's some positions grabbing's better than others, and I think that like in the corner position, grabbing Falcon's great because sometimes he's gonna get up and just shield. But like you can do that with not facing him, right? You can just do dash back grab, and I think that's important to like realize too, because I think it's really it feels weird being like, oh well, grab's an option I'm worrying about, but I'm not gonna face him. But it's like dashing just turns you around anyways, so not that big of a deal. And in this spot, going back to what we were talking about with like moves that kind of are better in some spots than others, I don't really think up smash makes that much sense here. Falcon's at 84. He's probably gonna die if you hit him with a horizontal move anyways, and so why pick something as committal as up smash when you could like bear him and edge guard him and he dies? Where the same thing might happen with up smash where he DIs away and gets edge guarded, but like if you whiff an up smash, you get punished 100% of the time. If you whiff a bear, you're rarely ever gonna actually get punished for it, right?
Yeah.
I guess we're getting near time. Do you have any thoughts before we wrap up?
Um, so in terms of things to practice, get up, shine,
Yeah.
and like plat tech chasing on miss tech.
Yeah, there's Get Up Shine, Plat Tech, Tech Chasing, Mistech, and then there's a few other things that you can practice that I think are will be valuable. Is like you could set up like you know how to like use replays and stuff where it's like oh I make the Falcon do X move and then I control Fox.
See, yeah, I know about those functions, but I'm not too comfortable really using them,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
yeah, let's talk about that right now really quickly because I actually think it's important to be able to do. Let me open up my
Yeah,
Dolphin and
yeah.
screen
I
share
see
really
that you I
quickly.
see that you have all of these like save state stuff in the Fox save state Discord.
Yeah.
If there's anything like if there's any save states that are made in there that you think would be good things for me to practice that can like get sent to me that I can like download and put on my setup, that would be sick. But also learning how to set these up myself is like a big thing that is holding me back from practicing certain scenarios that I know in my brain I need to work on.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I have any Falcon ones off rip, but I do want to show you how to do it because I think it is super important. And so,
Mm-hmm.
a few commands that are important to know is down on the D-pad moves Falcon or whatever character in front of you and faces you with this spacing. It also sets a
Mm-hmm.
safe state. Pressing left on the D-pad resets the safe state, right? And so you see how I move all the way over here, right? But I press left on the D-pad and it
Yeah.
moves me there. Right on the D-pad makes a safe state, right, without moving Falcon. And then when you pause, the menu comes up right. And now this is where like recording stuff gets important. Is when you want to set up a recording, you go to the pause menu, set up recording, and then you click save position, close the menu, and then press right on the D-pad to save a save state, right? And so now you're at the point where
Mm.
it's important to make sure that those you saving the save state and clicking save positions are close to each other because they're like super duper related. If one gets out of line with the other, it'll be pretty awkward, and I think the save state will like break. Um, but from here, it ends up being pretty simple, where it's like if you click record and you set to record, you reset the playback with left on the D-pad, you do whatever thing you want to happen, and then if you set the playback, it'll happen, right? Oh look, Fox did whatever thing. You could make him drill whatever. And right, and so you will do that. And so now, if you want to make that like half Falcon do an option, you could set it up. Go to the CPU and set it to record, and then make Falcon. Maybe do that, and then I'll play around with it, and set up a situation like that,
Mm.
right? And does all this stuff together make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so now, what I want to say is, I think there's a setup or there's a situation that would be useful for you to set up, whether it's like for what's it called, shadow boxing, or like practicing an actual situation, is I think having a safe state you make where like Falcon and Fox end up being like around this range. I think it's valuable to set up like Falcon doing maybe like a jump and then like a nair forward after, if you can, to like get the timing down, and so you could like practice like dashing forward at that spacing and then reacting, and making a decision. Do you know about how like with Slippy there's like the different slots and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what you could do too is that to make it more like of a reaction thing is you could set up another slot where Falcon does the same short hop, but instead of doing a full nair forward, he does a nair like that. Or then on the third slot, he has one where he does, I don't know,
Run up
stomp or
grab.
something. Yeah, we could run up grab. You could do that too or whatever. And so we set it to random. And so I see the Falcon do the thing, and I always decide to dash forward. But then I like, depending on what drift he does, I change the way that I like play the situation. Right? It's like, oh, I saw him do that, or oh, I saw him, drift forward, and so I wave dash back, or oh, I saw him do that, and so I tried to CC it or something, or I shielded, right? Or it's like, oh, I see him jump every time, and I'll always shield, right? And then I'll play the situation that falls after differently, right? And I think this is like
Yeah.
a valuable like exercise against Falcon because sometimes you're just gonna be playing neutral against them, and you're gonna be like, damn, I want something to happen, so you're gonna run forward. And then what's cool about Falcon compared to other characters is you could run forward and then figure it out later. And this is like
Yeah.
a good way to practice that because I'm just running forward and I'm just free balling.
Yeah, maybe I want to run back a shine. Maybe I want to run back grab. Maybe I want to up smash.
Yeah, right. It's like, what if I do this and then I'm like, I'm gonna read that, or it's like, I see him with that grab and then I get to pressure him, or it's like, oh, I ran in and saw that he was nearing, so I decided to CC, right?
Yeah.
And I think being able to like shadow box a situation like this that's super core to the matchup will help a lot. And this is like something that you can apply to any character and anything you want to practice. Is like you could set up a save state in the way that we talked about with them doing an option or a set of options that are like generally reactable, and then like letting them play out and then picking decisions that kind of make sense within those situations, and rehearsing it essentially. It's a rehearsal tool, which I think is super duper valuable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess since we're here, I could probably save this save state and send it to you, just because I made it. Yeah, but
so the way that it works when I'm loading this is like you will send me this. I would put it on like a flash drive and put the flash drive in my Wii, or
yeah,
on a memory card.
So is your Wii is like on Nintendo or whatever, right? And then do you have SD cards enabled on that or whatever? Or
yeah, I have an SD card. I have an SD card that has Nintendo and Uncle Punch all in it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so pretty much what you do is you get your SD card, you put it in your computer however you can. Maybe you have to use an adapter, maybe you plug it straight in. And then if you have like saves enabled on it, what you could do is there should be like a folder on the memory card directory called saves, I think, and it'll like you'll be able to like just drop in the file there's actually another step to the process, which is kind of annoying, but let me make this and then I guess I could walk you through it really quickly, and I think it'll be helpful. Make this. Okay, cool. Make the save state. Close the dolphin. Let me start screen sharing my screen. And so now that made the save state or whatever. And so how we want to like move it onto your SD card essentially is you go to Dolphin, you go to Tools, go to Memory Card Manager. Memory card B will be, let's have we could just arbitrarily pick a memory card. And that'll be like your memory card on your Wii, right?
Yeah.
Sure, we'll pick this one. And then we have this one, which is memory card A, which is the one that you're using on your Dolphin that you're going to be transferring it to or whatever. Let me see if I can find the directory on dumb mode. PC. Okay, well, I'm trolling. PC program files. The users. How do I get to my roaming folder? Oh, here we go. App data. And then Slippy. Set play. PC. Guard. Cool. And so we have this, whatever. And so pretty much what you do is the thing that I loaded, that's the memory card a.usa.raw folder. That's like the memory card itself. And these little things inside of it are .gct files that are like, essentially the Slippy save states. And so what you do is you pick whatever Slippy save state. We could pick AC Bear, and then you could click import GCI, and then it'll transfer it to clicking import GCI will actually, you have to pick it out of your folder or whatever. So sure, I picked that one, and then it would get imported to this one, and then it'd be done essentially. And that's like essentially the process where you're just taking the file that I'm going to send you with like the Uncle Punch save on it, clicking import GCI, and then finding the file with the memory card like attached, and then it'll just work essentially. It's like pretty simple, though it is awkward in the beginning. But so pretty much it's just get the memory card file from your SD card, and then go to Dolphin Memory Card Manager, and then put it in, and then click import GCI, and then take the file that you're gonna get, and then you're done. Essentially, you put it back on your Wii and then it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess I'll send it to you right now too. Um, but I guess do you think that like you kind of have a concept for how to like actually set up the safe states with like you make a say you make a you make the safe state and then you set the thing to recording and then you do the action and then you set it to playback and then once you load the safe state with left on the D-pad, it'll like play it out and then every time you click left on the D-pad it'll play it out again
Yeah.
as long as it's on playback. Yeah, that's essentially
Yeah,
the
I've like
process.
seen people do this in front of me, and stuff, but like it hasn't quite like clicked yet.
Mhm.
But I think this is good, and like I think these are the things like practicing a little bit of like making them. I can make my own like mistech, like Falcon misteching one,
Yeah.
and then like watching you make that and like how to import it is really helpful. Because those are like just like some like almost like housekeeping things. It's like not practicing, but it's like a condition that needs to be met before you can really practice this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah, just having someone walk me through that is good and makes sense because I do
Nice.
think exactly like what you're saying. It's like these are better ways to practice this than like just going into a game where there's all these other things that happen that you may like. Maybe the Falcons just platform jumping the whole time, and I can't practice this exact situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see for sure the use, and like this is what I wanted.
Nice. That's good. Um, let's see. Put this on my desktop. Cool. And now I could just send it to you on Discord. Ah.
Cool.
Okay. Perfect. I guess do you have any other questions before we end off?
No, no, that was good. I guess just schedule another one in 2 weeks or
Nice.
whatever, because I guess that's how it would work out if it's
Yeah. If
twice a
it's
month.
2 months, it's pretty much just 2 weeks per. And since
Cool. Yeah,
you
that's good.
scheduled at the end of the month, it didn't actually get your two for this month because I think it charged you instantly. I'm not sure how Patreon works, but I
Yeah,
think it charged you instantly. Then
yeah.
you could just do a third one next month if you also desire it, or something of that nature. Just like it'll
I
just be
mean,
like,
I
oh, you have one.
if we're on like a bi-weekly cadence, like I'm sure there is some week where it'll end up being that there's three in a month, but I think we can just call it like once every 2 weeks as I'm on this cadence is fine. Like I'm not like as long as it's like that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that sounds good.
Okay, cool.
That's what I did when I took lessons. I did every other week, and it was chill.
Yeah, it's enough time for me to digest, practice, come back with something else if I want the same matchup, or like move on to another if I think that's it.
Yeah.
If that's enough for the time being.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, great. Great first lesson. I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks, and I'll hit you up if I have any questions.
Yeah. Sorry we didn't get that much in the like, oh, here are like, you know, concrete things that you could practice, but it's like a big part of like doing lessons is like, I want to establish all these things that like let you think about the game in a specific way. Because at the end of the day, I want to get you to the point where it's like you could just do all this stuff on your own and you don't even need me. Um, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah, you
also
gotta
get
teach
to
me
that
how to like,
eventually.
you gotta teach me how to think about these things and weigh these things out. No, I get it. I
Yeah.
understand that it's gonna be a bit more conceptual at first, and then like once we get a groove of like how like we're thinking the same thing when we're looking at an interaction, we can discuss a bit more quickly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, have a good rest of your day. I look forward to our future lessons, and I hope this was, helpful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, definitely helpful. I definitely plan on like being consistent and sticking with these lessons because like I haven't like hit a big wall yet. I haven't been playing for that long. I've only been playing for like a year, a little under a year and a half,
Oh
and
wow.
been entering tournaments for like only been entering tournaments for I think like 10 months ish. So
Mhm.
I haven't hit like a big wall yet, but like I was like I'm just gonna get lessons before that and like keep the train moving. Like I don't want to hit that first big wall, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's totally good. I think now's a man. Being new and getting lessons is also pretty good too, because it's like you let your when you're like newer to the game, there's like you are creating axioms, and having someone like that has experience tell you like the good axioms to abide by makes your future in Melee so much easier.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's I think what kind of happened to me in general. I was just lucked out and started playing against a lot of really good players in Georgia, like off the
Mm-hmm.
rip when I was really new, and they beat a lot of the noob out of me. Like I stopped side being on the stage every time, like a few weeks in, because I was like, well, I'm gonna die here every time,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So having people who can beat some of that stuff out of you is very useful when you're just playing games.
Yep, I
But,
agree. Okay, well,
but
cool. Well,
yeah,
I'll talk to you
all right,
next
I'll
time.
catch you.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.